we are at the hospital to talk about Mary's blood.
Blood?
Don't you think we're better together? Oh, I think we are.
Good morning, guys.
That beautiful artwork behind you.
Oh yes, look at this artwork.
Are we at a museum?
No, we are at the hospital.
That's right, we are at the hospital. And
It's a bright and early one
let's
today.
do this.
We are seeing the hematology doctor today to talk about Mary's blood.
Blood?
We talked about this a couple weeks ago
Blood?
when we made the appointment.
Not funny!
When we made the appointment, we've got all kinds of questions about why Mary's blood work does the things it does and why IVs are such a challenge and if there's anything we're missing in all that conversation. So we're gonna talk through some of those things and we'll keep you updated. But
Yep, that's what we're doing.
how are you feeling?
Feeling morning-y.
Morning-y. Well, good morning, guys.
Lots of mucus.
All right, we just sat. That was probably an hour of talking about blood. First of all, guys, look at these trees.
I think that we should go over there.
Yeah, like drive over?
Or
Yeah.
walk over.
Walk over. It was really good. We talked with hematology doctor and she was really great and listened to everything and hang on.
Like fire! Oh my
We're
goodness!
coming through the parking garage.
Look at that!
Oh, the camera is not doing justice, but
Let's go over there.
okay, look at that, guys. That tree is on fire.
This tree is on fire! It's burning with fire!
Look at that, guys. Oh my goodness. Do you love it?
Color.
Love it?
It's amazing!
Hey, they did a really good job picking these trees when they planted them.
It's the color of blood.
Oh, it's a sign because we just went to hematology.
Crazy!
Okay, we're back in the car and Mary's getting in the car now.
Yeah, it was good. Like, she talked about blood and
We looked at all the trends of the last few years of Mary's blood counts and
she's like, so you're never in the normal category.
yeah. It was really good to talk through basically how Mary's blood counts drop on IVs and how we've used Neupogen and basically we need to come up with like kind of a protocol or like a plan for when it happens, how the best way to use medications is and all that. We talked about Mary's spleen and
Yeah, and it's interesting, like, so it's not a common problem. It's, okay, so for the IV antibiotics that CF patients go on regularly, there is a possible side effect of lower blood counts, pancytopenia, whatever. From the little experience that I have, meaning just from like the friends that I have who I've talked with about this, who have CF, they'll see their blood counts drop, but then it kind of corrects itself and then they
stabilizes.
Yeah, like, yeah, it's dropping, but it doesn't drop too low or anything. So it's very uncommon for a CF patient to have their blood counts drop this drastically to the point where you have to stop the medication. And so because of that, the CF team doesn't use Neupogen, like, ever. So it's all new to them, and so that's why they wanted me to bring hematology, like,
into the conversation and plan.
Right, which they are when I'm in the hospital, but they wanted us to meet with them outpatient. And the hematologist was like, this is so great that you came in because, you know, we're able to like talk through all of this, and so it was really good.
And she was saying how the cons, like she had looked back at Mary's notes and everything in the hospital and how the input that hematology has given in the past has always just been reactive, like it's just, okay, what do we need to do to address the problem that's happening right now? And whereas today we were having a more proactive conversation of for in the future, how do we best do this? And
Yeah.
so there weren't any like really takeaways today, besides that she's going to work with the team of hematology people and with Mary's doctors to figure out a plan.
Right, figure out, like Peter said, a protocol that when I'm in the hospital or when I'm on home IVs or something, when my absolute neutrophil count hits this number, we do Neupogen. And she also, because she's used to using Neupogen, that's something that's very like common in the hematology world. She said it is okay to do multiple doses. So anyway, she's going to talk with, like Peter just said, everybody that needs to know all the things.
Part of what came up is if we really have a good plan in place of like what numbers and thresholds to look for and all of this, that it might be more feasible for us to do more IVs at home than in the hospital. And so that would be awesome, because really the blood issues are what has kept Mary in the hospital as opposed to going home on IVs in the past.
Right, and like the one thing that can't change is the fact that my blood is going to do what it wants to do on its time. Yeah. So like knowing when it's gonna drop and that sort of thing, like that we can't change, but having a real concrete plan in place will help us to deal with those.
Yeah, like react quickly and deal with it. So that was good.
That's that. She also talked about my spleen. So I have portal hypertension, which is pressure in between the liver and the spleen, and my spleen is enlarged, and impressively so even. So she talked about, like, you know, basically the pros and cons of taking my spleen out. And it's so interesting with hepatologists, GI specialists, hematologists, CF doctors, you know, whenever taking my spleen out has come up, there's always this bottom line, not a good idea. Like, the doctors always end up saying, basically, at this point, the risks are way too high for any benefits. And so, until the risks outweigh the benefits, or rather the benefits outweigh the risks, until that day, the spleen stays where it is.
And so part of like that whole conversation is because the spleen...
This car's sticking out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
the spleen sucks up blood cells, from a hematology standpoint alone, it would make sense to take out the spleen.
Correct.
But there's so many other factors.
It was interesting because she brought it up, and you know, I was so interested to hear her perspective on it. And then when we talked about the portal hypertension side of it, she was like, oh yeah, no, it would not be a good idea. So those trees are just making my day.
Look at this.
Oh,
it's beautiful.
How is this real life? Okay, but for real.
But for reals.
Like, that, I don't even know how that's real.
For real skis.
Oh my goodness. I am in shock. All right, this is the red trees for the blood.
Hematology. The red trees of hematology.
Yes. Thanks for coming to the hematology visit with us and admiring the red trees. Well, it's been a good, productive, hairy day. It's been... I just finished grooming Ollie a little bit. I didn't take all the length off because I want him to have a little extra warmth, but I just needed to chisel him up a little bit. Oh, hold on. Okay. Whenever I finish grooming him, I let him go outside and take a break, run like crazy. And sometimes I like to go out there with him and rile him up, get him to run. Anyway, the rest of today was actually very productive. We got all the orders done. We're just gonna like do them before we leave. And then we'll keep our store open any shirts, sweatshirts, that sort of thing that comes from our outside manufacturer, those will still ship as the orders come in while we're gone. But then any prints or tote bags or anything like that, we will ship them when we get back from our trip. So if you need anything by a timeline, place your order like between now and Thursday, today or tomorrow, and we will fill that before we leave. So it'll get to you. But anyway, we fulfilled all the orders. I groomed Ollie. Peter's been doing emails and all that stuff.
Talk to your doctor.
Talk to my doctor. So I talked to my doctor, like I just said. But we just talked about my cultures that are growing. I mentioned to him that yesterday I was coughing up some blood, and he said, okay, I'm still glad you're going, like definitely still go on your trip, but let's definitely send you with some oral antibiotics just in case. So he called in minocycline because that treats the stenotrophomonas, I think, as well as maybe a couple of the other bugs that I grow, but I'm growing stenotrophomonas again. So he's calling in that antibiotic. So we will go get that antibiotic and we will bring it with us. And then basically if I feel like I'm starting to get sick, or like if my lungs are getting worse or anything, I'll talk with my team and they'll probably say go ahead and start that minnow. But for now I'm not starting it. Staying on the steroid, staying at the dose that I'm at now. And then when we get home, we'll drop the dose. Discussed the oxygen for the flight. And he said I was right on the line for needing it numerically, sort of like by numbers. So he said symptomatically, like, because he was like, do you feel air hungry or flushed or anything during the flight? And I was like, yeah, I always come off the flight like blazing red cheeks and just not feeling good. And so he said, well, let's try it. And so for this flight, we're gonna use supplemental oxygen, and we'll see if symptomatically it helps at all. Like I said, numerically, I'm in the safe zone, kind of right over that line, but I am safe. But he said, in conjunction with the fact that I was just coughing up blood and the fact that I symptomatically could benefit potentially, so we're gonna try it. And I already talked to the oxygen company, the whatever that place is called, and they are awesome. They're gonna send it here tomorrow, or they're gonna put it in the mail tomorrow and it'll get here the next day. So it sounds like everything is working itself out and everything's squared away. Last night I packed like the majority of my medicines, packed Oliver's food and stuff, starting to get things packed so that it's not super stressful the day before we leave. Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited to go on this trip. And I think I feel a little bit better now that I've talked to my doctor about it, because he was like, yes, like this is good that you're going. Let's definitely help you be able to go and be as successful as possible health-wise, but I think it's great that you're going and all that. So that's been our day. Tonight we are going over to the church to decorate, put up some lights. We're actually going to take our old fireplace over and kind of set up like a little living room area, I think.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So we're gonna meet up with some people over there, and we're gonna say, as always, we will see you tomorrow. Good night.
You wanna go find the...
Yeah. Holly boy.
Good night. Good night, guys.